Tonight on the Astronomy Show, we go to the Vancouver Planetarium for Astronomy Day. We take a look at the recent Mir-Shuttle docking mission. And of course, David Dodge with Astro News. All this and more on the Astronomy Show.
Look, my 2195 Rolex watch points out the fact that I've been up here longer than the OJ trial. Now, I'm going to write to Ann Landers, I'm going to write to my MLA, I'm going to write to my MP, and if that doesn't get any action from you guys, I'm going to contact Rafe Mir. What do you think of that? I'll even have to do it long distance, but I know the long distance number. And I'll contact Rush Limbaugh. What do you think of that? Was it something I said? We're back.
The 19th International Astronomy Day. And it's a sunny day, Jim McGuigan.
It certainly is. High pressure over us, temperature about 16 degrees, winds northwest about 20 kilometers and gusting to 40.
Well, I understand the show goes down to Toronto, so we just wanted to let them know that we do have sunshine here. And I think this will probably be showing in October, and it'll probably be a blustery night. So this is what it was like in May.
Of course.
And we've got a good turnout of people here to observe a number of different items and a number of displays. And you've got a great display here. Now, what if you were a beginner and trying to learn a bit about astronomy? What would you recommend here?
Well, it depends on whether you were a kid or an adult. Kids' books like Exploring the Night Sky, here's a very good one. Adult books, books like Norton's 2000 would be very good. And a lot of other star hopping and various books like that. We have a whole variety of things that people can start out with.
All right. Now, I noticed that you also have a couple of telescopes set up over here.
Right.
And what can you tell me about these? Now, are these, I understand they're locally made, is that correct?
Both of these are locally made. The first one here is a 4.5-inch reflector. It's got two eyepieces with it, 50 and 120 power, a 30-millimeter clear cross-haired finder on a simple L-azimuth mount, which keeps the price down. With this, you can see the cloud bands on Jupiter, the ice caps on Mars, the Cassini division in Saturn's rings, the Orion Nebula, M13, and other objects like that. The second model over here is a 80-millimeter refractor, a lens system, and refractors give you the best possible image, so it's extremely good for planetary use. It's presently set up with a land diagonal at the end, so we can get an upright image looking at the mountains over there and checking out the apartment buildings or whatever else we want to do.
Well, I hope we're not doing that.
No.
What type of price range are we looking at here?
Starting at $450 for the 4.5-inch reflector is a good base price for a very good scope. It'll actually do everything it says. If you go to Sears and places like that, you end up with a scope that doesn't do much, and you end up wasting your money. The 80-millimeter refractor also does the job very well at $555, and the dual-purpose scope.
Well, we saw a couple of small telescopes there, some 3-inch refractor, etc. But now we're going to look at one of the big ones here, and this scope here belongs to the club. Steve Whitehouse, past president of the Royal Astronomical Society Vancouver Centre chapter. Tell me a bit about this scope.
Hi, well, this is a 16-inch f4.5 telescope. It was designed and built by one of our club members, Lance Olkovic. It's designed as a Surrey truss tube assembly, so it's easily to break down and transport. It moves just by pulling it and pushing it around the sky, and it's designed for looking at very faint objects such as galaxies and distant galaxies and globular clusters and that kind of thing.
Wouldn't it be difficult to move this around, a scope like this?
No, it's very easy. It all comes apart. The tubes come off it, the rocker box comes off it, and the mirror just pops off the back of it. And it's very popular. We had it built for us last year. We've taken it to all of our major events and our star parties, and it provides beautiful, stunning views of the nighttime sky.
Now, this type of scope, what would it cost to build this?
This particular scope was first designed with digital setting circles. It's sort of a computer that tells the telescope where to look to find all sorts of objects. And that was an additional expense. But the mirror was about $2,000, and The setting circles were about $600, and by the time the whole thing was completed, it was worth about $5,500.
So you're saying this computer age, we're getting to the point now where rather than maybe having to try to find an object for half an hour, you just punch in the old numbers and it comes up.
It's so simple now that anybody can do it. Even I can do it. So people should come out and look at the nighttime sky.
I think I'm going to have to buy one of these. Well, thank you very much, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, we decided to move indoors, and you might say, why would I want to on a beautiful sunny day? Well, there is a method to my madness, because we're inside the Gordon Southern Observatory, and we have the telescope here, and Dan Collier, a club member of the RASC. Tell me a bit about this scope.
The telescope system we have is actually two telescopes. The larger one, as you can see here, is a 20-inch Cassegrain telescope, and the smaller one, strapped along the side of it, is an auxiliary telescope, 6-inch refractor type. Right now, we're not using the big telescope, and we have the smaller telescope set up for solar viewing. Come in here and see the sun during the daytime when we're open. Our opening times for solar viewing are generally on the weekends when volunteers are available, between, I guess it's 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock. During the evenings, we're open as many nights as we can during the summer days, but the usual hours are from 7 o'clock till 11 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings when the weather is fair, like this is now, and if volunteers are available. We have to stress the volunteer point because it is entirely staffed by volunteers.
I now have a club member who's 39, Jack Benny's age, Nelson Teskey. Nelson, you've been retired for a few years, and you've been a member for about 3 or 4 years. What got you interested in astronomy after you retired and so on?
I've always been interested in it, but never had the time until such time as I retired to be able to devote to it and be able to get out at night and view the heavens all night long, and didn't have to get up and punch the clock bright and early the next morning.
You've become quite an avid observer, I've noticed. You go to quite a few of the different events, Mount Coble, etc., Manning Park?
I take in as many of them as I can, yeah.
And what type of scope do you have?
I have a Celestron Ultima 8.
So that's a very nice scope too, and
It's all computerized and everything.
And so anything particular that you like to observe?
Galaxies mostly.
So you like to get in the deep sky objects?
Yeah.
Well, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have a wide range of people here, from young boys and girls, for people that are a little bit older, a young 39, etc. A very active club, a lot of fun, and this is the one day we like to celebrate, and thank goodness we've got a beautiful day here, and I just want to thank people for coming down, and on behalf of the Astronomy Show, this is Dave Savage saying, have a good day.
You guys have a good mission, and we'll see you back here in about a week plus a few days. Jim, thank you very much. We are more than ready, and maybe it's going to feel twice as good to get off today. Thanks for all the great work and the great support. And NTD launch director, you have request to proceed to launch. Okay, I'll copy. Thank you.
12, 10, T-10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. We have 3 main engines up and running. 2, 1, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission that will herald a new day of international cooperation in space.
Houston now controlling.
Most folks maybe don't realize that Rendezvous started right here. We had a 5-minute launch window, and we had to wait for the moment in time when Mir's orbit was right directly overhead of us, and we could insert ourselves into the same plane that they were in.
We had just a tremendous amount of activity at the end of Flight Day 1, and then all of Flight Day 2, getting our computers ready to go, getting our rendezvous tools set up. We had 1 or 2 unexpected events, including a little work that had to be done on the handheld laser, but we got ready to go in time.
We flew an intercept on the Mir that had us pick up the radius vector, or essentially come in right underneath the Mir and fly up below them all the way into docking. This was a pretty intensive period, as Bonnie and Greg have alluded to, on the flight deck, with the 3 of us flying and everyone else helping as we come in. This is a shot that you saw earlier from the Mir of the orbiter over the Red Sea. We had a very narrow corridor that we had to intercept and fly up, so as not to disturb any of the solar arrays on the Mir with our plumes. And as we got into about 500 feet or so, the Mir started its maneuver to the final attitude for docking.
Once we got all the PAO events out of the way, we could get to work on some of the science objectives of the flight. And the day after docking, we did start on some of the experiments. We had a small series of experiments to do on this flight that looked primarily at the cardiovascular system, exercise, fitness, endurance, those sorts of things, and also some metabolic studies to look at biochemical, hormonal changes in the blood, changes in the blood chemistry, things like that. And we also flew the lower body negative pressure device as a joint experiment between the Russians and the Americans. We had principal investigators from both countries on all of our studies. The Russians used lower body negative pressure as a countermeasure. We use it as a research tool, and we used it as a little of both on this flight.
Greg is wincing because he's having his blood taken there, and he'd rather be jogging like I am here, I think.
It didn't really hurt.
But Anatoly flew out of plane here, as you see him moving between the panels to a position about 60, 80 meters to the commander's side of the orbiter, I guess the port side, and station kept there while we prepared to do our undocking.
At about 3 minutes prior to the actual separation, I sent the command to open the hooks, and everything worked just like clockwork. That mechanism worked superbly. And there was a set of push-off springs that separated the two vehicles initially, and then at about 2 feet, Hoot initiated a separation maneuver, 4 pulses, to complete the SEP sequence. This is a view, I guess, from the Soyuz, looking at us as we do that undocking.
Of course, when we finally separated, the Mir-18 crew came up, waved goodbye. We had some exchanges on the VHF radio as well as we said sayonara. You're also seeing on the left there the Soyuz redocking. It was a little departure from our plan to dock an orbit later, but you can just see it start to close in there. Anatoly did an excellent job. I was in the commander's seat, and he flew from the port side to the starboard side of the vehicle and did a very smooth redocking.
As we completed that part of the fly-around and got the photo there, we started a complete revolution around the Mir and got these real pretty views of the station. And here you can see it rotating. The folks on the ground were very interested to see views of the different sides of the Mir to see what kind of condition it's been in after a long exposure to space.
Gibson now flaring up the nose, landing gear deployed by pilot Charlie Precourt. Atlantis just a few hundred feet off the deck. Main gear touchdown. The drag chute being deployed by pilot Charlie Precourt, and nose gear touchdown. Atlantis rolling out on runway 15 at the Kennedy Space Center to complete a 4.1 million mile mission and the first docking with the Russian space station Mir.
Welcome to the September Astro News on the Astronomy Show. I'm David Dodge. As usual, we'll start off with the phases of the moon, and they are this month: first quarter on the 2nd, full moon on the 8th, last quarter on the 16th, and new moon on the 24th. This month's full moon is called the harvest moon. The name harvest moon stems back to the time before the invention of modern farm equipment and the electric light. The rising full moon at this time of the year allowed the farmers to continue harvesting their crops long after the sun had set. It's the harvest moon that most people take the opportunity to go out and try and find as it rises. And here's a hint to help you on your way. If you're out watching for the rising harvest moon, note where your shadow lay as the sun sets, because a full moon is opposite the setting sun. So your shadow will be pointing to that point in space, or a point along the horizon over which the moon will rise. The autumnal or fall equinox happens on September 23rd at 5:13 in the morning. At this time, on this date, the center of the sun appears to cross from the northern to the southern hemisphere. If we lived in the south of the equator, this would be the spring equinox. So because of this, astronomers have referred to this equinox as the September equinox rather than the fall equinox. Jupiter is still part of our evening skies, low in the southwest, and Antares, a bright reddish star, is just below it. Antares is in the constellation of Scorpius the Scorpion. Saturn rises almost due east these early evenings. Saturn reaches opposition on the 14th. Opposition means when it's exactly opposite of the sun as seen from the Earth. On the 14th, it'll rise at sunset, and from the 14th onwards, it'll be part of our evening sky all night long. Last month, Saturn's rings appeared to disappear as the Earth went through the ring plane. This afforded astronomers an opportunity to search for undiscovered moons in the ring plane, and 2, we believe, were discovered. Further observations are required. The Perseid meteor shower was not expected to be too bright this year because of the interfering near full moon last month, but astronomers in Japan noticed a marked increase of meteors as seen through their radar eyes they used. As a meteor goes through the sky, it makes a radar reflective zone, and so the radar spotted a lot more meteors this year than we expected. Last month I mentioned the discovery of a comet by Thomas Bopp and Alan Hale. Well, since then, astronomers have refined the orbit, and it looks very interesting, but nobody's going to go out on a limb saying how spectacular it will be, because we all remember the Comet Kohoutek fiasco of the 70s and Comet Austin's failure to live up to its billing earlier this year. But if everything goes well, we could have a comet that'll be the brightest comet of the century, rivaling Jupiter in brilliance, standing right next to the sun and visible next to the sun during a total eclipse of the sun in March of 1997. And from Canada, it'll just scoot above the northern horizon, visible all night long for a month. And William Bradfield in Australia discovered a comet on the 17th of August. It was discovered at just about naked eye brilliance and has brightened a little bit, but will fade again before coming north of the equator for North American observers to see. Remember, there's an eclipse of the sun coming up in October, and the planetarium is planning to see the eclipse. Eric Dunn, a member of our august crew here on Astro News and the Astronomy Show, will be heading up this tour. Phone P. Lawson Travel at 1-604-736-1261 to see this eclipse. Book now to avoid disappointment. That's it for Astro News. Think nice thoughts about Comet Hale-Bopp and Bradfield, and we'll see you next month.
And now an announcement of great importance for all Canadians.
Okay, so good day. Welcome to the Great North Sky. I'm Eric Mackenzie, and this is my brother Dave.
How's it going, eh?
And our topic for tonight is a real exciting discovery that we're both real excited about.
Real excited.
They have finally discovered beer in space.
Well, not real beer exactly. They found the stuff of beer.
Well, okay, yeah, the stuff that beers are made of. Technically, they call them the ingredients.
And you learned that at school.
That's right. Yeah. They didn't discover them all at once either, because they knew for years that there was water in space, for example. I mean, like comets, for example, they're mostly made of ice, which is a very important form of water.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also like these huge clouds of stuff in between the stars.
They're called interstellar clouds.
Oh, geez, where'd you get that word?
I learned that in the astronomy show.
Beauty.
Hey.
Okay, so
educational television.
These interstellar clouds have got like water molecules in them, and they're unbelievably huge.
Oh, talk about huge. I mean, like, if these interstellar clouds are like the size of Lake Ontario, our whole solar system would be the size of a toilet bowl.
Can you? Okay, so it was like one of these giant clouds that was being watched by this group of astronomers from England a while ago.
They were radio astronomers.
Oh yeah, radio astronomers from England were looking at this gigantic interstellar cloud.
But
and
because
they discovered
you can't see the beer, you got to listen to it. You can't.
So that's why they were radio astronomers.
That's right.
Okay, well, like it's probably true, because my brother's a real expert on listening for beer. It's just incredible thing. Like you can turn out all the lights in the house, and you open a beer in a darkened room, and within seconds he'll be there.
Oh, it's true.
It's uncanny.
It's I could do this, and you open a beer anywhere in the studio, I could find it. I was going to get Mike to do that for us, but he wimped out. Something about the CRTC purity laws. We couldn't do it.
That may be why he's hid the opener then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But anyways, so these radio astronomers from England were listening for beer. Sorry?
UK.
What about?
UK. You can't say England. It's UK.
All right. These three radio astronomers from UC were listening at this interstellar cloud, and they discovered alcohol in it.
Whoa.
And not just any alcohol either, because it turns out there's lots of different kinds of alcohol. But the one they discovered was this one here, which is called ethyl.
Ethyl. Oh, and the other one at the other end, that's Joanne alcohol.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
It's an astronomy show. I saw it.
Oh, okay. But the one they found in the giant space cloud was ethyl alcohol. And the special thing about ethyl alcohol is it's the only alcohol that you can drink without going blind.
No, unless you drink like a whole bunches of it.
Well, exactly, right. Okay, so they've got like water and ethyl alcohol in this cloud, and those are the two main ingredients of beer.
Oh, no, it's not all the ingredients. Like what about the bubbles?
Okay, yeah, the bubbles too, those are carbon dioxide, and they've known for years that there was that stuff in space too.
No.
Yeah, it's true. And there's also these other stuff in these clouds. There's these incredibly tiny little particles that they're the size of bacteria or something, and they're so small that nobody knows what they're made of.
Oh, like sediment in a beer, like sediment in like a wheat beer.
You could be exactly right, because I think my own personal theory. I mean, there was this other astronomer also from UC who said he thought they really were bacteria.
No.
But I think he's wrong.
No?
I think they're actually a mixture of barley, hops, and yeast.
Oh, cool. All the ingredients for beer and a yeast infection, too.
Oh, geez, you shouldn't have said that, eh? Oh, now I've lost my train of thought.
The mystery.
Oh, yeah, right, beauty. Okay, so the big mystery is, like, nobody knows which of the two great families of beer this stuff belongs to, eh? Because as all Canadians know, beers are divided into the ales and the lagers.
No. Fishermen and loggers.
No, that's the Canadians themselves are divided like that. It's just, we're talking about the beers.
Right.
And they're either ales or lagers when it's a beer.
Oh, well, like Pilsners and they're like where they're grown, like they ferment at the top, and then or where it's warm, or they ferment in the middle where it's cold and dark. So like that's a Pilsner, or what? Or is it the other way around? I can never remember, man. I just drink it.
Now I'm confused. But anyways, it's just like that with the giant space clouds, eh? We don't know if the alcohol forms like at the surface of the cloud where like the starlight warms it up, or if it maybe happens in the very center of the cloud where it's so incredibly dark that the molecules just kind of fall together and stick because they're so cold.
Oh yeah,
it's a mystery.
It's a real mystery. We don't know nothing about this stuff. More research is required. Like maybe it was, if they found it like it was a lager beer, right? Then maybe they find it was like it was dark like a Münchner or lighter like a Pilsner or something like that.
Well, and of course that leads right into the so-called dark beer problem, which is considered to be like the hottest topic in astronomy today.
Yeah, but it's not our topic. Our topic was just like beer in space, not the kinds of beer. And you also, you see the clock over there.
Yeah.
It means that our time is up.
Oh, bummer. Okay, well, I guess that's about it then.
That's our show.
Thanks for watching.
Hey.
Clear skies, and don't let the dog get too close to your tripod.
Yeah, like your dog yesterday. There's a rust spot right there. Oh, yeah, before we go, we got to ask our people, like, if they know where they can find a straw. Not a straw, like a really, really big straw, like 2,000 light years long.
Yeah.
Because we know where we can find one of those interstellar molecules.
Write to us in care of your local cable company if you got one.
Yeah. And if you don't have one, then you're not watching our show.
I guess that's probably true. Yeah. You knocked that one in.
Oh, well, it'll be underdone.
That was terrible. But I think the show went well.
Oh, it was great. It was great. It was great. Well, I'm glad we're off the air now. I can hardly wait to eat this stuff.
It's like, maybe you want to try opening a few more of those too while you're at it.
Oh, okay.
I got thirsty and all that.
Really, I did too.
But I think that worked really well.
Yeah.
Except for your fly being open.
What?
What made you look?
Beauty. What's that spot there?
Well,
oh, gee.
Always had.
You always fall for that one, man.
Oh, man, I still got bruises on my nose.
Yeah, well, your nose
used
to be this much longer.
Well, yours used to be like this much less red, eh?
Well, look at your red neck, eh?
So what's wrong with that?
Well, what I just told, somebody said somebody that to me once. Look at my red neck.
How come that guy's scratching his neck funny? Like he does it with his forefinger sort of thing?
He's like Captain Hook with his...
I don't know. He's probably sick or something. You think we should call a medic?
Okay.
Medic. Maybe we should just open him a beer.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah,
Canadian first aid.
Yeah, it works for suntan lotion too, you know. Yeah, and sometime in summer you ought to try it. Oh, gee, I think I dropped one in there.
Well, that'll be underdone.
Oh, because it's underneath.
That's a camping joke.
Like open up another case.
Okay, here.
Always had.
You know, this is Oscar material. Oh, no, nah.
Wacht nog, man. Wacht, die geeft nog eens parer pokken. Alright, maar
The preceding program was produced through the facilities of Rogers Community 4, Vancouver. We want to hear from you and invite you to leave your comments and suggestions on our 24-hour response line message machine. Please call 731-5812.